All right, let's talk about what really gets you going. I mean, is it the paycheck, the praise, the trophy at the end of the race? We spend so much of our lives chasing those things. But what if I told you that the most powerful, the most lasting driver for success, for learning, even for happiness, comes from somewhere else entirely? Okay, let's dive into the incredible science behind your inner drive. I know, it sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? I mean, we're all taught that rewards are the ultimate motivator. But just think about this for a second. Could giving someone a reward for doing something they already love actually make them love it less? Well, the answer, surprisingly, is a big yes. Yeah, and psychologists actually have a name for this whole phenomenon. It's called the undermining effect. So picture this. You've got a kid who just loves to draw, spends hours doing it just for the fun of it. Now, what happens if you start paying them, say $1 for every single picture they finish? Suddenly, that activity shifts, right? It goes from being play to being work. The focus isn't on the joy of creating anymore, it's on the goal of earning that dollar. And here's the kicker. When you take that reward away, a lot of the time, the drawing just stops. That internal fire has been kind of dampened by an external fuel. Okay, so to really understand what's happening here, we need to look at the two basic types of motivation. Think of them like two ends of a spectrum. It's not just one or the other, it's all about where that drive is really coming from. So on one side, you've got intrinsic motivation. This is the good stuff. This is when you're doing something, playing guitar, solving a puzzle, learning a new language, just for the pure satisfaction of doing it. The drive comes from within. Then on the other side, you've got extrinsic motivation. And this is when you're driven by outside forces. Think money, grades, praise, or even avoiding punishment. The drive comes from outside of you, all to get some separate outcome. Now, here's the really crucial part. While both can get you to act, the quality and, more importantly, the sustainability of that motivation are just worlds apart. So the leading scientific framework for understanding all this is called self-determination theory, or SDT, and it's a really powerful idea. It basically suggests that all of us were born with three fundamental psychological needs. And when these needs are met, our intrinsic motivation absolutely thrives. But when they're not, well, our motivation takes a hit. You can almost think of them as the essential nutrients for your psychological health. Okay, so the first need is autonomy. And this is just our deep-seated desire to feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives, To feel like we're the author of our own story. It's that huge difference between feeling like you have to do something versus feeling like you choose to do it. So for, say, an athlete, this doesn't mean ignoring the coach. It just means having a voice in your training, feeling like your efforts are truly your own. Second, we have competence. This is that need to feel effective, to feel capable, like you're mastering challenges. You know that feeling when you finally nail a difficult chord on the guitar or solve a really tough problem at work? That's it. And it's not about being the best. It's about feeling your own skills grow as you tackle challenges that are just right for you. And that third essential nutrient is relatedness. This is our fundamental need to feel connected to other people, to care for them and feel cared for in return. It's that simple, powerful feeling of belonging, whether it's with your family, on a team, or in a group of people who share your hobby. We're social creatures at the end of the day, and that sense of connection is absolutely vital fuel for our motivation. All right, so that's the psychological theory, but now let's go a level deeper and look at the hard science. What's actually happening inside your brain when you feel that spark of genuine intrinsic curiosity? Well, the answer might just surprise you. We hear about dopamine all the time. It gets thrown around as the pleasure chemical or the reward molecule. But honestly, that's a huge oversimplification. It really misses the point of what dopamine actually does. It's not the chemical of having something you enjoy. It is the engine of pursuit. That's right, dopamine is the chemical that makes us want things, that gets us to explore, to seek out new information, to learn, to strive. It creates that feeling of energized engagement, that I want to figure this out feeling, not just the passive pleasure of, oh, this is nice. It's the thing that drives you forward, even before you get any reward. And this is all part of a really ancient, really powerful brain circuit that neuroscientists call the seeking system. I mean, this is a deep biological drive that's in all mammals. It's what keeps us exploring our environment, learning new things, and just staying curious. It's been called a goad without a goal. It's the reason you peek around the next corner, click on that interesting link, or just try to figure out how something works, just because. And when this system is active, your whole brain kind of orchestrates this beautiful dance. First, your salience network lights up. That's the part of your brain that basically screams, hey, this is interesting, pay attention. Then your central executive network kicks into gear, and that directs your focus like a laser beam. And here's the really cool part. Your default mode network, that's your mind-wandering system, it quiets right down. You are fully, completely in the zone. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does this inner drive actually play out in the real world, over the long haul? Well, a fascinating long-term study of retired adults gives us this powerful glimpse into exactly how a curious mind can shape a life. So what the researchers did was measure a personality trait they call need for cognition. Now, don't let that fancy term fool you. It basically just means how much a person genuinely enjoys, thinking. It's not about how smart you are. It's about whether you see a complex problem as something to run away from or as a fascinating puzzle you can't wait to solve. And to figure this out, they'd ask people how much they agreed with statements, just like this one. You can almost feel the intrinsic motivation right there in the words, can't you? It's all about the enjoyment of the process itself, of coming up with new solutions. That right there, that's the signature of a high need for cognition. And the results? They were absolutely striking. So the researchers split the retirees into two groups, the high need for cognition folks and the low ones, and they just tracked their activities. And the high group, the ones who enjoyed thinking, they were just so much more engaged with life. We're talking more time on creative activities, like hobbies and crafts. They used the internet way more to learn and connect, and they volunteered more. They were actively, proactively engaging with the world around them. And get this, 4 years into the study, even after they controlled for all sorts of other factors, the retirees who enjoyed thinking were more than 3 times as likely to have an email address. Now, this isn't really about technology. It's a behavioral marker. It's a sign of curiosity, of a proactive desire to stay connected and informed. It shows a mind that is still actively seeking. So the evidence is just crystal clear. From the neuroscience all the way to these long-term life outcomes, our inner drive is incredibly powerful. So the big question becomes, how can we foster more of it? In our own lives, in our jobs, in our schools? Well, it all comes back to those 3 basic psychological needs we talked about. First, find your autonomy. Look for any small way to have a choice in your daily routine. Try to turn I have to do this into I choose to do this because. Second, build your competence. Don't just stick with what's easy. Seek out those just right challenges that stretch your skills a bit. That's the sweet spot for growth. And third, cultivate relatedness. Find your people. Share your interests and goals. Learning and growing is just so much more powerful when it's a shared journey. So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. I want you to forget about what you get paid for, what you're graded on, or what anyone else expects of you. Just for a moment, what is one thing, just one thing, that you do for the sheer, unadulterated joy of the process itself? Whatever just popped into your head, that is the heart of your intrinsic motivation. Find it, protect it, and let it drive you.